Welcome to Afterthoughts, everybody. This is our Recommend or Refute episode. I am your host, Michael Dixon. With me, special guest, Sam Laufenberger. Oh, I'm sorry. Sam is Irish goodbye. He left right immediately after the Disclosure Day recording. And all right. Well, John Garcia is still here. John?
That's right. I am here. I am exhausted from writing that treatment, but I've watched a few movies in between writing, fervently trying to fix Steven Spielberg's mistakes, and I'm excited to bring some stuff.
It's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it.
It's true. Got to keep them in line.
Yeah.
Those living legends, they need to be reminded they're just human.
Ryan is not here with us this evening, but John and I are going to hold down the fort, and we are going to each talk about two different things that we have watched recently, and whether we would recommend or refute them. John, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, so I know this is one that you've watched, Dixon, but it's one that I had kind of been holding out on. I don't really know why I hadn't seen this yet, but took a vacation recently to Corpus Christi, and it did not go well. Nobody that planned it involved. Sasha, sorry. Nobody that planned it really intended for it to, go this way, but just a lot of bad things happened at once. I'm sure that everybody's kind of had one of those trips where it's just kind of off from the beginning and it just continues. But one of the glowing lights was we did have a TV in our hotel. Despite all odds of all the things that happened that went wrong, the TV did have access to HBO Max, and we could log in on our account, pick a movie, have a movie night, and just enjoy ourselves, just really sit back and be like, well, here's something that we can both react to. And I didn't realize that this movie was on HBO Max until I came across it. And that movie is 2024's A Different Man.
What's your name?
Edward?
Do you work for Facebook?
No. But I get this a lot.
Oh, hey, neighbor.
People can be cruel, I imagine.
All unhappiness in life comes from not accepting what is. You know who taught me that? Lady Gaga.
This drug seems to have the potential to actually heal you. The implications are life-changing.
My face is falling off and clumps.
I'm sure it only looks like clumps to you.
Perhaps any potential risk is worth the reward.
Look at this piece of man candy.
Can I believe my eyes? Edward, who didn't remember me? Oswald. Hi.
Which it's directed by Aaron Schimberg, and it stars Adam Pearson and Sebastian Stan and Renata Reinsve. Is it
Reinsve, I believe is how it's pronounced.
Renata Reinsve. And I enjoyed this film a lot. It is, I don't think that we've talked at length about it really on the podcast. I can't remember if you have.
No, I know I had mentioned it to you guys, but I might have done it in a Recommend or Refute forever ago now, soon after it came out.
Yeah. Sebastian Stan plays a character named Edward who is struggling with an affliction. I can't remember the medical term for it, but he grows tumors on his face, and it causes him to be physically disfigured, and he wishes that something different could happen. He's kind of an awkward person, and he gets a medical procedure done which cures him of that, and then he becomes Sebastian Stan. He becomes very handsome and charismatic, and people were like, oh my God, you're selling real estate and all this other stuff. But at the same time, he's bonded with Renata's character, and she's written a play for his character. He's faked his death essentially once he's kind of changed hands and become a different person physically. And so he auditions for this play in which he needs to be his old self and wears a mask of himself. Then he runs into Adam Pearson, who is actually a person who suffers from that disfiguration. I shouldn't say suffers from. He fucking lives in it, and he embraces it, and he's just a charismatic chum who seems like a solid dude. I love that guy. Mm-hmm. And immediately, Edward's character becomes very jealous, and just constantly anything that Adam Pearson's character does, who I believe his name is Oswald, he's just like, like, fuck that guy. That's like everything that he seems to think in the movie. And it spirals out over time into this sort of envious nature that plays out in awkward situations and a real crash out, and just has like this, were you better before? Or like, what are you really trying to get out of your life? And what are you trying to escape from kind of question when it comes to what you perceive as a personal affliction? Is it that really you can't live with what you're given, or that you refuse to live with it and that you can't accept it and move on and learn how to live in your own space with it? Sasha and I both, as we watched it, Sasha couldn't watch certain parts of it because it just seemed like too cringy for her.
Yeah, I can see that.
Are definitely moments where you're like, oh my God, it just, whoof. Yeah. I fucking loved it though. I thought that it had such a good, dark, comedic tone at times. It really made me laugh in some of the shit that Sebastian Stan did to try to get back at Oswald for nothing that Oswald had done. And the like lack of awareness by Oswald, this like unlimited forgiveness and love that he gives to him, just made it even funnier, like amplified it in its own way. And I found it charming, but also an interesting reflection on human struggle and what you're really trying to get out of your life, and whether or not you are in the space that you're in because you've put yourself there, or if it really is circumstantial to what you're going through. I thought that was fascinating, and it didn't like have a way that it didn't feel like it was overbearing and trying to like say one way or the other what it was. It just kind of let you witness a bunch of characters come together and bump around, and one of them in particular crash out a few times and have some breakdowns. And it's I found it fascinating and charming. So yeah,
I loved this movie when it came out. It was, I think, my number 5 film of 2024. It's so good, and I think it's just such a fascinating character piece and a study into the human condition. And it's like if you use the excuses around you to not live the life that you want to live, then maybe you're just a piece of shit and you can just never actually accomplish those things, even if you have all of those obstacles removed and you have the easiest path in front of you, and like, it's very human to, find excuses for reasons that you can't achieve what you want in life. And, Sebastian Stan's character is, he's this ugly weirdo that has this disease of tumors on his face, and he has, he just looks very odd, and it's impossible for him to be intimate with a woman, to achieve the success that he wants in life. He really wants to be a writer and an actor, and he can't really do that. And then he has this miracle solution to cure himself, and the tumors melt off and he becomes this attractive person, and then he becomes just like super vapid and vain, right? And he's just becomes the sales bro within, that just never, there's nothing there behind, like, turns out behind the mask, there's just nothing. Yeah. Right. And he's used that as an excuse his whole life to not be able to get where he wants. And then he doesn't know what to do when that obstacle is removed. And I love the fact that he's confronted with a character who has that exact affliction and is just killing it in life, who is the guy every woman wants to be with. He has every friend in the world. He's super rich. He's like achieved everything that he wants, and he just refuses to let that affliction hinder him. And he seems to not even view it as a setback. And it's just, part of who he is, and he's able to be this charismatic guy, and you buy it, you believe it in the movie, which I think Adam Pearson is so fucking good in the role. But it's just, it's a fascinating film about, I think, like, human nature of just the aversion to taking responsibility for anything in your own life, and the idea that, hey, if you just had the right attitude, maybe everything would be okay for you. And obviously I think there are a lot of macroeconomic conditions in today's society where, like, it's really hard for everyday people to achieve everything they want in life. that aside, I think it's really interesting to say like, hey, maybe you could be a lot further along if you weren't like just wallowing in self-pity all the time and finding excuses, and have some self-confidence, walk a little taller, go out and try to have some self-respect and try to go get what you want. And maybe it's more achievable than you think it is. I think it's just a really challenging film to confront your own insecurities and what is holding me back in my life that I am using as an excuse to not get where I want to be. And I think it's a fascinating film.
Yeah, I felt like it's a great companion piece, and it's also aptly named and similarly named to A Serious Man.
Yeah.
They fit so well together to see a serious man and a different man on a double feature, because they are both about people who opt to use the constraints of their culture and their upbringing in a specific part of society to restrain themselves from doing things that they want to do because they feel that it's not appropriate or they're waiting for the right time. And the inaction leads ultimately to them having regrets and remorse over a lack of self-fulfillment. So that was what I thought about when I watched it the whole time too. It was like, it had similar biting tones to that, where like A Serious Man has a lot of goofy shit of like the Cy Abelman and his wife meeting Larry at like a diner, kind of mirrored towards the end of A Different Man, with him meeting Mary and Adam Pearson's character Oswald. And like, there's just those bits that are kind of like, your inaction has led you to this point, and there are still people who kind of care to carry you along in this part of your narrative, your life's narrative, but you yourself are just bitter about being carried into it. You don't want to be there. And it's darkly funny to see it. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Sasha has continued to talk about it. It is something that I think that we'll continue to recommend to other people. We watched it a little bit with her father-in-law. He was staying, in a separate hotel room with us, and at one point he had to check out, but he was very interested to continue it. I think that he was just fascinated by the premise because it has such a slow start to it as well. I don't even think that he got to stick around to see the actual medical procedure because there's so much time kind of spent building up the character of Edward and his struggles and the people that he talks to, and like letting you kind of live a few days in his life and what he does. And even like his apartment has semblance of his inaction. Like there are parts of it, like a leaking hole and roof and like other things. It's like, I was also reminded, because they have a leaking hole in his apartment, of If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. That was another piece where it was just like this thing that's like festering within him that he doesn't get patched until it's kind of like too late for him. And even then when he does, it's just like plastered over, and there's still something probably there, like water damage and other things that have like built up resentment. But yeah, like those interesting pieces. I'm really curious. I'd love to go and see some behind the scenes things and like learn a little bit more about the way that it was written, what it like the origin of the story and why it came to be. I don't think that I've watched anything around that, but the film itself was fascinating enough to make me want to do that.
Yeah. It's a really good movie. I've never really seen anything quite like it before. Have you ever seen Under the Skin?
No.
That's not. Adam Pearson's other movie that and 10 years apart, in 2014, I believe, was Under the Skin came out. And that is directed by Jonathan Glazer, who did the Nazi movie from Zone of Interest.
Zone of Interest.
Okay. He directed Under the Skin, and it's this alien movie where Scarlett Johansson plays an alien who is disguised as a woman and who is like preying on locals in Scotland and like bringing them in to have sex and then like discarding, like eating them and discarding them.
I forgot I saw this. This has that she leads them in like an abstract room.
Yeah.
Where they like sink into something.
I can't believe you wouldn't have remembered that immediately upon seeing Adam Pearson, because he's so
first of all,
distinctive.
When I saw this, it was in a gauntlet with my cousin Anatoly, in which he was showing me like Scarface and Perfect Days and a bunch of other shit. So I just am like, I was so like shocked probably by the tonal differences between all the movies he was showing me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do remember watching this now.
I think it's really interesting to pair those movies together because in Under the Skin, Adam Pearson plays a sad sack character who is like Edward, where he's really down on himself and he's able to be lured in by this alien seductress because he doesn't like have a lot of self-respect, and he's able to be victimized because of that. But then you see him in A Different Man, and he is the most charismatic person in the room at all times, and he's just a completely different character. And like you really get to see him act the shit out of this movie, and he's just so good in it. It's really cool to see how kind of he can embody both of those sides of that character in super interesting ways, because you know he knows what it's like to have that disease for his whole life, and I'm sure he probably has the capability to be very charismatic, but also knows what it's like to be looked at as other and weird, and he's able to embody that really well. But I'd love to see him in more things. I've only seen him in those 2 movies. I don't know what other movies he's done, but definitely nothing as big as those 2 films, which are both pretty small independent productions. But would love to see Adam Pearson in more things that can have him play different characters that maybe don't have to be played by somebody with a disorder, just giving him a chance to just go do something that could be interesting for him to flex his acting muscles. But yeah, I mean, A Different Man is great. I think it's a pretty incredible film, and definitely echo your recommend. Anybody should go check it out.
I think that it'd be great to get Adam Pearson in on some other things that are kind of more mainstream as well. Like it'd be interesting to see him as a crew member in like any fucking heist movie or some shit. Like he could be in like a Mission Impossible. Why not? Fuck it.
Yeah.
Like you could have him on some of those
He's
teams.
like the distraction.
He's charismatic enough and like would cause certain things to happen within an area that like I think that he could definitely solicit. Also,
the misdirection.
He seems like innocent enough too that he could like get a little fucking secrets between people. Like who knows? He could definitely be a spy. I think it'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
Fucking Adam Pearson, if for some reason you end up listening to this, I don't know how or why you would find it, but if you do, we'd love to have you on. I'd love to know. I'd love to know what films you like, what you like to watch, and what you think would be important for people to know about. But yeah, A Different Man is fucking great. I recommend it. I recommend it as a bundle with A Serious Man. I think both of those are. It's just a great double feature and reflection on inaction and self-deprecation, and the importance of like self-confidence and knowing what agency you can and should take in your life. Those are good movies. But yeah.
Definitely agree. Cool. All right. Well, the first film or series of films that I am going to be talking about is the Toy Story franchise.
Sergeant?
Yes, sir.
Establish a recon post downstairs.
Code Red, repeat. We are at Code Red. Recon Plan Charlie, execute. Move, 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 move. It's a big one.
Walt Disney Pictures presents...
Star Command, come in. Do you read me?
The story of 2 toys.
There seems to be no sign of intelligent life anywhere.
Hello?
Oh, yeah.
Headed for a showdown.
My name is Woody. This is my spot.
I am Buzz Lightyear. I come in peace.
You are a child's plaything.
So Toy Story 5 is, in the world that we're recording this, just came out in theaters. I have not seen it yet. By the time this comes out, maybe it'll be available on Disney Plus. Who knows? They fast track that shit pretty quick. But my wife and I are, wanting to go see Toy Story 5, and we've been rewatching the, existing Toy Story movies. I have been very vocal about my love of Toy Story 4 on this podcast. We have a previous episode on that movie, which I think is really great, and it's just really a movie about old people coming to terms with their uselessness disguised as a fun kids movie. But we're going back and watching all of them. We watched 1, 2, and 3 this past week, and I'm just gonna kind of give my thoughts on the franchise and where it's gone, where it's going. But I think Toy Story is a very interesting franchise to me because I feel like it just kind of keeps getting better And there are so few franchises that actually do that. Usually it's like, oh, the first movie is the best one, and then it just falls off a cliff, but it made so much money that they can just keep making them and print money and just kind of phone it in. And a lot of Pixar franchises fall into that category, but Toy Story seems to be the one that's like, okay, we actually care about this. We're actually going to make this good. Despite Tom Hanks, they're able to make good movies out of these characters.
And Tim Allen.
And Tim Allen, yeah. Well, Tim Allen is like, he's supposed to be kind of a cardboard cutout of a character, and that works really well for Tim Allen.
Yeah.
But Tom Hanks is another story. But the first movie, 1995, obviously very innovative from an animation standpoint. But it's like 81 minutes long. The story is interesting in terms of like, oh, toys coming to life. They're doing this thing that hasn't been done before. But it's basically like Woody is such a whiny little bitch that it's so hard to spend even 81 minutes with that character. Like, he's so abrasive to have to spend any amount of time with. The guy who's like very nice to everyone as long as he has his position as the king shit of his little society.
You know what the problem is? Woody's an atheist.
Oh, is that the problem?
You think about that's exactly because Buzz Lightyear comes in with his own belief system, and Woody's like, hey, bud, you're fucking wrong.
Oh, yeah,
and he just is immediately staunchly opposed to all of it.
Yes, he's the
condescending Or maybe he's
atheist.
Like a dogmatist. I don't know. He's just too dogmatic about whatever he fucking
No,
believes.
he has a religion. His religion is Andy.
Oh,
He
that's true.
worships
He's
Andy.
an Andyist.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yes, of course. He has it written on his boots.
Yeah.
But Dixon, there's a snake in his boots.
Oh, good
Satan.
point. Oh,
anyways.
But yeah, so he's just, he's great and nice to everybody as long as he's king shit of his little world. And then that becomes threatened, and he becomes a petty asshole who's just willing to undermine and murder anyone who gets in his way.
Yep.
And the whole movie is just Tom Hanks whining and complaining, which is just the most abrasive voice imaginable, just scraping against your brain.
Do you think it would have been better if like Larry David had been Woody in like a way? Because of his...
For the first movie, yes.
But for the rest, no.
Well, they actually develop Woody really well in later films, and they give him more depth. And again, I'm not a fan of Tom Hanks. I think it's by far the best work he's ever done as Woody in the later Toy Story movies. But like, Larry David it would be good for like a comedic flat character who's always complaining about his life. But like once you develop it beyond that, it wouldn't work as well.
Just can't. Yeah, I agree.
I do think it's weird that they cast Tom Hanks and not somebody with any sort of Western or Southern accent, or didn't try to get Tom Hanks to do a cowboy accent. He's just being whiny Tom Hanks.
He's just Tom Hanks.
Yeah. It's like, could you imagine if like Clint Eastwood played
Woody?
Like, Sam Elliott
are a toy.
T-O-Y toy.
There's a snake in my boots.
Watch your ass, Space Ranger.
Oh my God.
That would have been incredible.
Your laser's no match for a 45.
They would have had to give him a beard or some stubble at least.
Most powerful handgun in the world.
Blow your head clean off. But it's Tom Hanks that we're dealing with here. So why is he a cowboy? I don't fucking know. But yeah, the first movie is, there's a lot of good things that it has going on. The animation's great. There are aspects of the storyline that are really interesting.
There's a Randy Newman score.
I
was just going to throw that out to see what you...
Yeah, I don't love Randy Newman or any of his original music for the Toy Story movies.
Best thing Randy Newman's ever done is play Raccacoonie in Everywhere.
Oh, I did not know that was him.
Yeah, that's the best part. Yeah,
that's funny. Yeah, so I mean, the first one is a good way to kind of introduce a lot of, interesting characters. A lot of the voice actors do a really good job. The side characters, Slinky Dog, the pig, the dinosaur, all the like good acting from some good character actors. And then it has like, a heartfelt story. It works. It's a good kind of first step in the franchise. The second one, also good. I think it's around the same level as the first one. It was meant to be a straight to VHS movie like every Disney sequel was in the 90s, where, you know, just like, oh, like Aladdin 2, Return of Jafar. No one knows what that is except people who were kids in the 90s like me and had the clamshell VHS things and watched them ad nauseum. But like Disney was ashamed of it and put it out straight to VHS because they didn't want it to be like part of the real Disney canon.
Yeah.
And that was the plan for Toy Story 2. And they ended up being like, you know what, this is actually good. We should just release this in theaters.
It's like a movie.
Yeah. And so, you know, it's like if Kelsey Grammer at voicing the Prospector, which is kind of funny to me that you have like a Sideshow Bob classicist being a like prospector who is, you know, like in the like fake TV show they have in the world.
Woody's Roundup.
Yeah, Woody's Roundup. Yeah, he's like complaining about like falling on his ass, and he has this like ridiculous prospector accent, and he's watching the show and just putting his head in his hands, like, oh, I can't believe they made me do that.
And you have like Wayne Knight's in that too, right?
He is. He's Al from Al's Toy Barn.
Oh, dude, the collector who like sells everything at premium prices.
Yeah.
Whatever the fuck. Wow. I've not seen Toy Story 2 in a long time, but I can remember so much about it. I think that's a testament to like how impactful it is.
Yeah.
Like, from a filmmaking standpoint. It's just wild.
Yeah. There's a lot of good stuff in it. I think it's not as both Toy Story 1 and Toy Story 2 are like, they're lacking the depth and the heart of Toy Story 3 and 4. And there's a lot of good kind of comedic bits and action sequences in Toy Story 2. For some reason, I don't connect as much with the heart of the movie around like Jesse's character and Woody's desire to potentially go to the museum instead of going back to Andy. It all feels a little like those are things that Woody deals with later in the movie once Andy has, or not later in the franchise when Andy has become an adult. And that makes more sense for him to deal with those things at that time.
Yeah.
But for him to confront those ideas, you know, immediately after the first Toy Story, when Andy is still like 8 years old, and you know, I don't know if it works quite as well, but it's a good movie. It's well done. They're building on the franchise in a way that makes a lot of sense. Toy Story 3 is a fucking hammer to the heart. It's just like incredibly well done, and I think it's again a franchise that is one of the few that benefits from multiple movies because it gives you more time with these characters and more depth and the ability to understand the dynamics and the friendships between all of them that pay off so well in Toy Story 3 that I don't know that you could get from a standalone movie where you're just introducing these characters and trying to have this emotional weight that you just wouldn't care about them enough for it to work as well. And so I wish more movie franchises would think like that as they're making their movies. Hey, like we can build these relationships over time that really matter and have emotional moments that work and, you know, just actually become better as the franchise goes on instead of just feeling like cheap copies of copies every time they make a new one. It's a Xerox of a Xerox of a Xerox, and you can hardly read the damn thing anymore by the time you get to the end of it.
Yeah.
So I think it's really just a fantastic example of a franchise that keeps getting better. Toy Story 3, obviously it's Andy is, 18 and about to go off to college, and he doesn't play with his toys anymore, and the toys are grappling with their futility and their lack of purpose in life. And, are they going to be sold at a yard sale? Are they going to be shipped to put up into the attic? Are they going to be thrown away and go to the dump? Are they going to be donated to this daycare? And, it introduces this new world and concept of toys that are not tied down to a single child and that have more freedom over their existence, but are kind of trapped within the fascist hierarchy that the toys have created within the daycare. And that's all fun. And there's the funny bit of like Buzz having a Spanish mode and stuff like that. Again, Buzz is supposed to be kind of a flat character that's comedic relief. Like he's never the heart of the story. And I don't think he's capable of carrying the heart of the story. So it's a good role for him to have. But, like Woody is chosen to be the one toy that Andy takes to college, and he's going to put all the rest in the attic, but then his mom accidentally throws them away, and they end up going to the daycare and all this. And a lot of the movie is like a jailbreak film. It's like The Great Escape or like Escape from Alcatraz or something like that, where they're all trying to figure out how to get past the guards and to, escape out of the daycare past all the layers and the cameras and all the things that they have to solve for, which is super well done. And then, culminating and everybody's seen Toy Story 3, right, guys? Like, I assume it's fine to, kind of spoil this, but the way that movie ends, where they make it out, but then they're like picked up by the garbage truck and they are like, about to be burned alive by this furnace. It's just so emotional and powerful. And basically it's like a 45-minute long, like, escape action sequence. It's so well executed. It's just way better than it has any right to be.
Yeah.
And then, they're
that fucking acceptance moment too, where they all hold hands.
Oh my God.
They just punches
stare death in the face and accept that at least if they have to go, they're going together.
To fucking feel that between toys is just a testament to the storytelling.
Yeah.
God.
And like a tacit recognition in that moment that they actually care more about each other than they care about Andy.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the first time that you actually get that in the Toy Story franchise. Maybe their own friendships are more important than worshiping their child God.
Yeah.
And then, they're miraculously saved by the claw, which is a funny little bit. And then, that final scene where Andy gives them away to Bonnie is so touching, and he plays with the toys one more time and then passes the torch on to another child, and they can have a new purpose and a new life.
And it doesn't feel like overly saccharine either. It's just like there's a sweetness that's genuine to it. And I know that like in previous recommended reviews you've talked about, like earnestness sometimes can really just be like a turnoff for what you're watching.
Yeah, I'm generally allergic to overly earnest films, but like for Toy Story, it fucking works, man. And it gets me every time. Like, I'm like, we're like, Lindsay and I are watching it and she's like, doing something on her laptop, not really paying attention. And I'm like trying not to cry while I'm watching the end of this movie.
Yeah.
Like, what? No, you're crying. I'm not.
There's just something in my eye.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But it's just so, it's so emotionally powerful. And it's the only franchise that I've ever seen that actually benefits from time with the characters and becomes better as it goes along. And I love Toy Story 4. I love where that arc goes. I have not watched it in the last week, so I won't spend too much. And we have a whole episode about it. But I love the idea in that movie that Woody even goes beyond that to not only, in Toy Story 3 discovering, hey, maybe I can have a purpose with a different child now. But it's like, hey, maybe kids aren't interested in me anymore. And I can't actually fulfill my purpose, and I have to go find something else to do and some other way to find fulfillment in life. And he and Bo going off on their own journey and just hanging out in the world and not feeling like they have to be in a child's life and just be able to live their life however they want it. There's this freedom to it, and it really is like about an old couple realizing that they are useless to society and they have to retire now, and they like really grappling with that is it's so difficult to come to terms with. And I think Toy Story 4 is just such a beautiful film, and I'm sure I'm interested to watch Toy Story 4 again soon and see how it compares to Toy Story 3. But they're both so good. It's hard to say that one is better than the other, but there's just a massive jump up from 1 and 2 to 3 and 4. And I think 4, unfortunately, because 3 is so good and it feels like such a nice bow in the franchise, nobody really wanted 4. And then when it came out, people were like, oh yeah, it's fine, but like it's not 3. I wish they just left it at 3 because it ended the franchise so well. And I'm like, no, but 4 like needed to be told. Like it really brings Woody's character arc to another place that is so much more satisfying, I think, and it really builds in such a fascinating way. I have no idea what to expect from 5. When 4 came out, I was like, oh no, this is not good. And then I loved it. So I'm really hoping that they continue to kill it with 5. I'm a little skeptical. I've heard that the main character is Jessie in 5, and I've never been as interested in her character.
Yeah.
I really liked in 4 when they focused on Woody and Bo Peep. I thought that worked really well. But I'm going into it open-minded, really hoping that 5 is great and continues to build on what they've done so far in the franchise.
Yeah, I never really thought about it, but each Toy Story movie is just a different toy's existential crisis.
Yeah, every single one of those movies is about dealing with uselessness, like being confronted with the fact that you are no longer able to serve your role anymore, or there's been a challenge to your supremacy in your position.
Yeah.
And having to like humble yourself and realize that you have to move on to a new stage in life.
And yet it's so fresh each time, which is just wild to me.
Yeah.
Because it makes sense. Like in the first one, it's Woody being surpassed by Buzz Lightyear, but also Buzz. This is like the only time that Buzz kind of is a full-fledged character who has 3 dimensions, because he deals with his own existential realization that he is a toy.
Right.
And trying to deal with that.
It's his only emotional moment in the whole franchise, I think.
When he's fucking Mrs. Nesbit.
Yeah.
That's like so funny. And I haven't seen that movie in so long, but I remember Mrs. Nesbit and that being the bit. And it's just like fucking goofy, but also like Sid's character and the fucked up shit he does to the other toys, and like the way that they just don't like that. I remember as a kid being traumatized and being like going home that night and talking to my toys and being like, look guys, I swear I did not know. Like there being like a chord of empathy that was struck between me and the figures that I made a lot of play and imagination out of, and I abused in my own way, and then recognized that abuse and was like, that's fucked up. I don't like that at all. Between that and like Toy Story 2 and like Woody's whole complication about like, well, I had a whole other posse, and like I basically had another family that I should be a part of, but I don't know who to like actually live with,
right?
And how to deal with this, and like, Stinky Pete. Just fucking like, God damn it, that name. I remember so much about it. Just all of them are so memorable to me. And it's not even like a nostalgia thing. Like I can, like this just speaks to like Pixar's legacy and who they used to be and the talented voices they had at one point. They still have that fight for certain things, because then you have like other Pixar features that just don't make as much of an impact.
Yeah.
You have like the Cars series and like all the other shit that's come after their golden age of, you know, like they really knocked it out of the park with a lot of stuff in Toy Story and A Bug's Life and Wall-E and Ratatouille. Like all those were fucking great films. And now you're to this point where like Disney's kind of squeezed them for all they have and their technology, and like it's really dependent upon the voices who want to tell a story with franchises and recognizable IP on whether or not they can succeed in doing that. And like I looked it up, and Brad Bird was like a senior executive voice on Toy Story 3 and Toy Story 4, and that makes perfect sense to me given Brad Bird's sensibilities.
The action
around,
sequences in Toy Story 3 for sure.
Any of those, and the level of heart that he has, given that we both have seen Iron Giant at this point and like freshly as adults, and like the stories that Brad Bird wants to tell and has learned how to tell. I hope that he's mentoring more people. It seems like he is. I'm hopeful that Toy Story 5 is going to be a fucking knockout, and I'm going to go see it in theaters. It's surely my one thing of Disney's that I would want to see this year, because otherwise it's like Mandalorian and Grogu, and I don't give a fuck about that. Or it's the fucking Moana live action, and I definitely don't give a shit about any of that. So I'm like,
Andrew Stanton is directing or co-directing, and so you know, he's one of the original Pixar guys that, you know, he directed Wall-E, and I think he directed Toy Story 4 and you know, some of the other early Pixar movies. So that's a good sign. I'm a little wary of the whole, you know, introduction of toys versus tech, and I feel like there's a lot of, you know, simple, easy things to do there that won't be super meaningful the way that some of the other films have been. But if they could navigate that well, there's interesting things to pull
the other
from
films
it.
have been so smart that I have a sense that it won't be like Disclosure Day, where it feels like a boomer shaking your shoulders and telling you that the kids are fucked up and the kids aren't all right.
Mm-hmm.
But it'll be some nuanced take about the kids, eventually kind of finding their way. And the fact that it's a Jessie story is what I've also heard is interesting because, I haven't really known Jessie. She's been more of like a cheerleader for most of the movies.
Yeah, she's a pretty flat character in the other films. Like she's not, in 2 and 3, she's a major part of it.
Yeah.
4, she's not really in it very much. So I'm not sure how they're going to kind of bring that around and bring the focal point on her. I'm also very confused as to how Woody makes it back into Bonnie's house, because one of the reasons I love Toy Story 4 is that Woody and Bo are moving on from being a child's toy and trying to discover other things in life and have other purposes, and him being roped back into that situation makes me skeptical of what they're doing with it. I would love to see just the continuation of Woody and Bo Peep's story as they go on an adventure into the world and have something interesting happen there. I'm guessing they're going to do something around like, Bo Peep got broken or lost or something and Woody had nowhere else to go and like made it back to Bonnie's house to be with his friends. And, maybe there's something powerful they can do with that. But I don't know. I'm just completely speculating at this point. They've done no fucking advertising for this movie.
Yeah, it's kind of wild that they've just kind of been like, yeah, you'll fucking probably see
they just like dumped it out into theaters. I mean, it did really well in its opening weekend. It made $160 million last weekend. So,
sure.
As of this recording.
It's crazy that they are able to
I guess they just know that they
wave.
don't have to advertise it and people just show up.
Sure.
But pretty crazy that like... earlier this, like a couple weeks ago, Lindsay was like, what movies, where are the big blockbusters this summer? Like what's coming out? And we were looking at, it's like Toy Story 4 comes out June 19th. I was like, no, that's not right.
You mean 5. You mean Toy Story 5.
Sorry, Toy Story 5. What did I say?
4.
4, yeah. Toy Story 5 comes out June 19th. It's like, no, there's no way that's true. It's got to be like next year. Like, and it's like, oh, nope, it's in like 2 weeks that it comes out.
There's so many other movies that have had that where I'm just like, oh, that's out? Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Fucking A. Yeah, I'm kind of in the same skepticism with you. I feel like 5 will be kind of a step down, but who knows until I actually fucking see it.
That's the same thing I thought about 4, and then I loved it, and it was my favorite
They
Toy
could
Story
continue
movie,
to build.
so-
They could compound. I have no idea. It would surprise me, but I would also be delighted if that is the case. So fuck it.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Cool. So that's a recommend for the Toy Story franchise generally, and specifically 3 and 4 as major steps up from 1 and 2. John, what's your next thing you're bringing to the table here?
Oh, man, right before we started this, I wanted to talk about Widow's Bay because there's been a lot about Widow's Bay recently. People have been talking about it. It's great. I would recommend it to you, and I don't want to talk too much about it because I don't want to spoil things. It's basically like if the mayor of Jaws was dropped into a series of Stephen King novels.
Okay.
And that's like the whole kind of premise. It's written by and produced by and directed. There's like an executive producer, the creative voice behind it, Katie Dippold. She did Parks and Rec. People have described it as Parks and Rec meets Stephen King on this like New England island that they want to be the newest Martha's Vineyard. The island's cursed. There's a lot of dark humor. There's a lot of horror aspects to it. It is a perfect television series. It's Apple TV, but it is
perfect.
It's perfect. It just totally walks the line. Like, I think that you would love it. It's 10 episodes. There is going to be a season 2, but even if you have no interest in watching that season 2, the way that season 1 is executed has the right amount of dark humor and execution in between horror and comedy. It's not just it overleans into a comedy aspect or it overleans into a horror aspect. It conjures the tension when it needs it, and it does it in such a fucking spectacular way. But, there's really not much more that I feel like I can say about it without spoiling parts of it. It's so well executed, and it stars Matthew Rhys, who does a fantastic job. I've not seen Matthew Rhys in a lot of things.
Interesting. Yeah, I feel like he's done so many TV shows, like, The Americans and other prestige-ish TV shows that I'm just never going to watch. And so I I recognize him and I know his name, but I've never seen him in anything that I felt like he was charismatic or interesting. And the few film roles that I've seen, he's been very forgettable, and he has a very forgettable face. Like, you know, like
that's
he's just like, he's a guy that he just doesn't have a lot of distinctive features. And so he doesn't stick in your mind when you watch a movie, you know?
It's funny because I remember watching an interview with him recently where he said that he has been told by several people, I can't remember who, that he has sad Celtic eyes. And that's like a distinguishing, eyes, that's a distinguishing feature. He's in this, and Stephen Root's in this, and they both give a fantastic performance. I'd recommend watching at least one episode of it just to get a feel for it. 2 episodes. I think that's the really recommended dose, because you'll get a sense of what it is and the dark humor that it has. But it is something that Sasha really fucking loved. Everybody that I've talked to that has watched it has had a different take on it, but it's all been positive, and they've all really enjoyed either the comedic aspect, the dark aspect, but neither of the two have ever contradicted or caused tonal issues between each other. It's just perfectly balanced in the way that it's done. So I wanted to recommend that, but really I realized right before we were doing this, I told you I hadn't watched much, but actually yesterday I texted you that I had watched something that we've both watched. And
yes,
I Love Boosters.
What would be your biggest challenge in a job like this?
I shop here a lot, and I feel like I should have it all. Just want to take it all home, eat it up, and shoot it out my eyes. I just feel like, give it to me. It's mine anyway.
That is such a good answer.
What's a booster?
Somebody that steal clothes from the store and sell it at a discount price?
It's like community service.
I call it triple F. Fashion, forward, philanthropy. I know how to spell philanthropy. Branding, though.
Together, we empty out every single Metro designer in the Bay Area.
It's the Velvet Gang. They're boosting from my stores.
Missy Smith knows we exist.
They take my shit and sell it because they're low-class urban bitches. With all due respect to urban bitches.
Yes,
which I wanted to bring up. I wanted to bring this up. So I will say Widow's Bay, I recommend it. There's not much more I can say to everybody out there. I recommend that you fucking watch it. All 10 episodes are fantastic. If you drop off at any point, you still probably have had a great fucking ride along the way. Just the cast is stellar, the direction's stellar, the writing is fucking stellar. It's so good. But I want to talk about I Love Boosters because it's my understanding we've not necessarily differing opinions. We probably have some overlap here. But I Love Boosters, directed by Boots Riley, film that released like 3 weeks ago, a month ago, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Tells the story of Corvette, played by Keke Palmer, who is a booster who steals from Demi Moore's character. I don't fucking remember her name. She's like the Steve Jobs of fashion. I don't fucking know.
She shoplifts stuff and sells it. She
sells it direct to consumers for a discount rate to make sure that everybody can be fucking fab. And there it goes. And within this, there is that same sensibility. If you've seen Sorry to Bother You, there's a very similar surrealist take, comedic take, like a lot of campy, fun shit that happens within it, mixed with some science fiction. That's what Sorry to Bother You also had, in which Keke Palmer and her crew end up taking on a big corporation. There's a lot of like pro-union messaging in it, and like other things. Basically, they're just rising up. They're like learning to rise up along with the rest of the community. They're learning what it means to be bonded to community and believe in people and stand together against the tyranny of capitalism. That's what I feel like a lot of Boots Riley's movies here and beyond will end up being. It feels like Boots is just like hard-nosed on all of that and wants to commit to it.
Boots is very open about his political views.
Yes.
It's very clear in his films.
So first off the bat, I'm very surprised that this movie not necessarily that it got made, because it had a lot of producers behind it who believe in it. A lot of the cast also are producers listed as. It has Lakeith Stanfield as well as I've seen a bunch of other names in it. Well, it's like going. I'm just like, man, Boots always seems to have a posse. There's just like a lot of talented people who want to gather around Boots and do what Boots is going to do. I like it. I don't love it as much as I love Sorry to Bother You. I think that Dixon, you and I are kind of aligned on that feeling. That this is, for me, it's not necessarily like a step down, but it is a companion piece to Sorry to Bother You. I feel like it talks about other things that Boots didn't get to discuss during Sorry to Bother You because it would have just made it too bloated. But it is more messy, and it does try to jam in more of these talking points of like manipulation and propaganda and how that's woven into consumerist ideology and execution, and like the fucking CEO speak is continued from where Armie Hammer left off, like Demi Moore picks up, and there's this constant kind of fused thing. I enjoyed it as a continuation. If this was part of a trilogy, I'm still interested to see what the third movie would be. I will say, like, in terms of energy, I don't think that I would pair it with Sorry to Bother You. As much as I like both of the movies, I would say Sorry to Bother You.
Yeah.
I love Boosters. I think that if you pair them together, they have too much sameness. They overlap a little too much.
Yes.
And they seem like they would be a little too heavy-handed together. But separate, they can be like well paired. Like if you were to do something like, I don't know, Sorry to Bother You with, what's a good pairing with it? I want to say Brazil, but I feel like Brazil would be good with I Love Boosters. Maybe because there's consumerism. There's a lot of like bureaucracy that's talked about in that.
Consumers for Christ.
Yeah, Consumers for Christ.
Brazil, yeah.
Always, all time. But like, Sorry to Bother You might pair better with a serious documentary, something like Harlan 1974, that documentary series where they talk about the union that's the coal mining union that's being busted by Pinkertons and all these other fucking people.
Yeah.
It would be good to have surreal with realism. Like, why not? Peanut butter and chocolate kind of thing. And then I Love Boosters, mix it with more abstract, like an imperfect, also surrealist piece together. Because I feel like Sorry to Bother You is pretty perfect in the way that it's done.
Yeah, it's fucking great.
But yeah, anyways, Dixon, please, I want to know your thoughts on this, and based on what I've talked about.
Yeah, it sounds like you liked it a little bit more than I did, but again, I think we have pretty similar thoughts. Where I think Sorry to Bother You is so fucking good, just so well executed, and it feels like Boots putting all of his ideas into one movie in a way that just works perfectly, and it somehow doesn't feel overstuffed with all of these things going on. It's just so well done. And then with I Love Boosters, it feels like he has already said everything that he wants to say in Sorry to Bother You, and he is just kind of regurgitating those ideas in a second attempt that is not as interesting as the first attempt that he made with Sorry to Bother You. I think the cast is weaker, the story is weaker, the effects are not great, and it just feels a bit hollow. And if you haven't seen Sorry to Bother You and you just go into I Love Boosters cold, it's probably going to play better than if you've seen Sorry to Bother You before. Sorry to Bother You is a far superior film, and I would highly recommend that if you like I Love Boosters and you've seen it. But it just feels like, okay, I know all of these bits, and it's not only the same ideas told in the story, which I am fully on board with what Boots is trying to say about worker power and against corporatism and monopolies and all these things, but it just feels like, okay, you've already done all these things in a way that works really well. Doing it again in not only the same opinions, but the same storytelling devices as well. Like the scientific, the sci-fi stuff or the fantastical magical realism stuff in Sorry to Bother You is just done again in I Love Boosters, where there are humans that are morphed into other beings, like things that are very beat for beat the same story. There are union organizers that the protagonists don't listen to that then become important later in the movie. There's a lot of stuff that I think is just very similar. And I was like, this is great. I've seen this movie before. I don't necessarily need this one. I really like the one that already exists. So I also felt like Lakeith Stanfield was totally wasted in this movie.
That is where, like, yeah, I agree. It's such a weird throw-in.
Yeah,
for his character.
Just not part of the story at all. Just a weird side thing where Keke Palmer is attracted to this guy played by Lakeith Stanfield, and this weird fucking crazy, like spiritual plot that is not related to the rest of the movie at all.
Yeah.
And it's just, feels tacked on. He's like, I got to get Lakeith in here. He's my boy from Sorry to Bother You. I got to get him in here. And then it's just, I don't know. He's such a good actor. I just hate to see him underutilized in a way that just feels just unthoughtful.
Yeah, it's like his character plays a supermodel essentially who is able to be on the performance show, and like at some point he sacrifices his integrity with the corporate system to serve the like boosters to help them undercut a fashion show and do some fucked up shit to fuck that shit up. Like it's just how he's playing it. But he's doing it under this personal motivation to get close to Keke Palmer, and then he's essentially discarded after doing that in a way that is very unceremonious, and like it's like in its own as a bit kind of funny, like haha, like it doesn't really matter.
Right.
But narratively it doesn't really tie well to the argument that like, you know, you should have been focused on workers, or there should have been something. There's no lesson that he really learns. He just like is like, oh, okay, and just leaves. And so it just ended up being kind of like, why the fuck was this even in here, other than to do like a gag about who he is, what he does, and then his ultimate like self-sacrifice that doesn't do anything for anybody else. Like it doesn't even feel like there's commentary on the character he portrays. So it's just very kind of hollow.
And it's like you're trying not to spoil things. And it's like we can't really talk about what his character is because it's a
when you learn it, you're like,
spoiler. But you're like,
fuck?
What is this? It's just so divorced from the entire rest of the film, and it doesn't need. Like, I don't know why that's where they had to take that character. It's like if they were doing a SNL skit or something,
sure,
that could work.
Fine.
But like as part of the whole film, it's just like he's in a different movie than everyone else is. And
yes.
I don't understand what 100%.
Like for some reason, I think right before I saw it, or not even before, but you know, before I saw it, I talked to you about it and you were telling me that, and I was like, that can't be true. They wouldn't do that to Lakeith Stanfield. No way. Why would they underutilize him and or do this fucking bullshit? And then I saw it and I was like, my God, Dixon was right. They fucking did this.
Yeah.
There it was. And I was just kind of like, okay.
There's an aspect to it that's kind of just crazy because he fucking went there and he was willing to do the thing that he did with that character. And you're like, okay.
That's fucking wild.
That's crazy. I haven't seen something quite like that before. But it's just not cohesive with the rest of the story at all. And like, if you're going to do something crazy like that, you got to work it in to the story and have it make sense. Like, you know, like in Sorry to Bother You, they're crazy shit, but it all works within the plot and it comes together in a really satisfying way.
I would say also like it's not even a metaphor, but it's like the turn of phrase that is hinged around Lakeith Stanfield. I always thought was a positive, and it's a negative in this movie that, you know, that happens, that he does that to people.
Yeah.
But here it's like, okay, well, I guess I got to like block his number because he's that kind of fucking person. And I was like, wait a minute. That doesn't make any sense. That's just for the pun. So yeah. I do love Demi Moore's performance is fantastic.
Yeah, she does a good job.
She's absolutely, her and Armie Hammer have that same kind of sociopathic energy. I assume she's a lot warmer than he is in real life. But
they didn't quite take her character to the crazy lengths that they did Armie Hammer's character, and I wish they had made her a little crazier.
I did love her lecturing a lot of people about what she's trying to do.
Yes.
I fucking enjoyed that.
The slanted office building that she lives in is pretty
so
funny.
Fucking funny.
Yeah.
Those bits, I love that kind of shit. See, that's why I'm like, I don't mind if there's a third, whatever Boots is going to make. I'm really interested to see what it would be because, like, when we think about it, Sorry to Bother You is about the power callers, and like the people
call center,
people
people
the call
who are
center
paid pay and like just commissioned to sell bullshit out of a
yes,
catalog.
the best salespeople who are co-opted to do fucking dirty shit, and then we have fast fashion and mass consumerism in I Love Boosters that is sold as like an artistic, integral piece of human society that is ultimately just something to exploit and destroy other people. I want to fucking know what the third thing is. I really would love to see whatever the fuck Boots is going to do with the third thing.
He should turn it on to cinema and the movie industry.
That is the other thing that I would be fascinated to know. Because, like, I feel like that's going to come up against clashes. Like maybe it's something that Spike Lee's already covered. Maybe there's some other black voice out there that's already done this, but I would love to see whatever Boots is going to do for mass media. I think mass media is like the next target because it's been in the background of everything that he's done for the other two movies. Yeah. And I want to see how he would take that on with a character who's trying to make it up the ranks. Or he's already in that and trying to like get even bigger. I mean, why not? Because the fucking president of the United States right now is some motherfucker who is in like real reality TV, and now he's in a reality TV show that is run by the news. That seems primed for what Boots is going to do.
Yeah.
Some humble kid from Oakland who comes up through Fox News or finds their way into some graduate program that gets them into a media site, and then bam, there you go.
Yeah, that'd be super interesting.
Fucking love it.
Or have like you could do it around the podcast space and have like a Candace Owens type of character.
Yeah, and they've alluded to it in I Love Boosters. They alluded to Candace Owens. And
they did.
They had some other things that were related to that. So like, I would love to see the world expanded. I feel like Boots is making a connected universe of unionization, pro-worker stuff. Why not just indulge in what media and journalism does and just fucking go for it, Boots?
Yeah. So, he's super talented. It's just, it seems like he's retreading a lot of things, not just in ideas, but in like execution. I'm like, love the ideas. Let's figure out some different ways to tell that story and do something a little bit different than kind of doing something that's pretty beat for beat similar to Sorry to Bother You. But I love his filmmaking approach. He's no subtlety whatsoever. He just comes out and tells you what he believes, and the message is right there. But I think just a different approach would be an interesting thing to see Boots try to accomplish, as well as I think just like I mentioned before, I think the effects were really bad, and I Love Boosters, and there's these like, secret sci-fi portal gun things that they get that just, it looks really bad. And I don't know if you agree with me on that or not.
It was like, it was serviceable. Yeah. I won't say that it was like the most convincing shit ever when they sprayed wherever the fuck they're going to do. I was like, sure. My brain was kind of just like, yeah, fine. I mean, I've seen Disclosure Day prior to that. So it's like, yeah, sure, whatever. Fuck it. It's better than that.
Yeah, I hold Boots Riley to a higher standard than I hold Steven Spielberg.
That's a really, not a sad statement, but that just is a fact of life now.
Yeah. I feel like when you're dealing with a limited budget like that, you have to write into the script things that are achievable with the budget that you have. And these like magic portal gun things that just kind of do whatever the script needs them to do. It felt a little bit weak from a writing perspective to me. And it was like, you don't really have the CGI team to pull this off and to make it look as good as it should. So like maybe find a different device.
Part of me feels
to tell
like
the story.
They had props on hand that fed into that, because at one point there's a woman who they not deconstruct, but what the fuck is the other thing? They like super construct her. They push her forward in time, and she's like walking on stilts with like high heels, and it's the fucking creatures from Mad Max that are in that like weird ass like other land, and I feel like they just acquired that and we're like, yeah, let's just do that. Put her on stilts and do that, and she's like, nobody else knows about this fashion, and like there's like partial commentary and partial opportunism to it to me, and I was like, all right, fine, sure, whatever. Yeah, that part got weird when it started to get really heady and explain itself to everybody. I was like, fine, I don't care. It's not as, again, it wasn't as clean as Sorry to Bother You's exposition was in what it was trying to explain, and I understood that and was like, fine, do whatever you're gonna do. Sure, go ahead. There's some parts that are kind of weird, but I'll take the fucking bait. I'll do whatever you're gonna do. Yeah, and the next one, I would be interested to know what Boots would do, how he's going to perform it. There are parts in this that, like, Sorry to Bother You is like boom, 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 constantly beating you over the head with different surrealism. I feel like Boots had so much more to say in it. Like, there's so many gags and bits that, like, we did it on the podcast at one point.
We did, yeah.
And, like, there's just so many bits that we've talked about where it's like the Jack Daniels within Jack Daniels and like the other things that are there. There's so many endless kind of like metaphor and surreal pieces that Boots was like, I don't know if I'm ever going to get to do this again, so I'm just going to fucking do that. And this one, it just felt like he loves the concept. He loved the story. He didn't have as much to say in different pieces, and so he's like, I'm just gonna step back and put a few buckets in of what I want to talk about, and I'll just do those things. And at one point they have like Ray Harryhausen style like stop motion, which I fucking loved. I enjoyed the stop motion pieces.
Yeah,
those were fantastic, but
stop motion was well executed.
Getting to that point, fucking weird, and a lot of the explanation doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but sure,
yeah,
get it. Commentary, why not? But it's just so much more broad and like, I don't know if super text is the right word to use for it, but there are certain parts where it's just like, you really didn't have any other way except to slap us across the face. Like, you couldn't figure out a better way to do it. So you just slapped the audience with it and said, yeah, this is that. Go for it. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's my take on I Love Boosters. I would still recommend it. I think that it was a fun time. It's not as great of a time as Sorry to Bother You. I'd recommend that over I Love Boosters, and would not recommend them together as a dual feature. I would recommend them separately.
It'd be a little bit too assaulting on the senses.
Yeah, it's like an earthquake sort of, right? You need to have the epicenter, and then you have like an aftershock. Like, go for it. Follow that wherever you're going to go later. But that was my take on I Love Boosters. So yeah, Dixon, what do you got to close us out?
Cool. I'm going to pull the same shit that you just pulled, John.
Damn it.
And I was going to talk about 1971's Carnal Knowledge by Mike Nichols, which is a very good movie about the difficulties of monogamy and relationships and how men are full of shit. Great Jack Nicholson and Art Garfunkel performances, Candice Bergen and Margaret. It's great. I wanted to watch it because Brockmire talks a lot about Anne Margaret and mentions this movie specifically in one of the episodes. It's quite good, but I don't think our listeners will care as much about that movie. And so I am going to talk about something that I watched recently. And the reason I didn't think about this earlier when we were discussing the episode, John, is because it's a television show that I did not log on Letterboxd because I don't even know if it's loggable, but I refuse to log things on Letterboxd that aren't movies. So
fair enough.
I watched Spider-Noir.
Every mystery forms a complex web. But pull the right strand, and it's a straight line to the answer.
Universe trends to disorder. All you can do is fight to keep the chaos from your door.
I came here to offer you a job. My friend disappeared.
You haven't given us much to go.
What can I say? The world's a dangerous place. But I think you're braver than you let on.
been in a hole ever since Ruby died.
We're chasing ghosts.
Maybe we can be alone together.
This is your chance to put that shovel down. So what are you waiting for? Let the best man live.
Oh, that's right. Oh, fuck. You texted me about this.
Yeah. Spider-Noir. This is the exact type of thing that I don't want to be watching, but because it's a noir and stars Nicolas Cage and Brendan Gleeson, it's like, dear God, I think I have to watch this Marvel shit.
Try to get out, but you keep pulling me back in.
I know. It's been so long since I have watched a superhero thing, whether it be a movie or a TV show or anything. I've avoided it for quite some time now. I couldn't even tell you, honestly, the last one I watched it, like, I don't know, Eternals maybe? Like, it's been a long fucking time since I've watched any sort of Marvel or DC property. No, probably the Batman with Robert Pattinson. That was kind of a noir thing too.
Yeah.
That's probably the last one that I've seen. But I really try to avoid these things because they're all terrible. But I adore film noir. I adore Nick Cage and Brendan Gleeson, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna give this a shot. I had a free weekend. The wife was not feeling great, and I was like, you know what? I have some alone time. I'm just gonna binge Spider-Noir, and it's pretty good. It's all the superhero shit is what it is, but there's a lot of just classic noir detective stuff that works really well. Nick Cage is good in the role. His performance is a little uneven, I will say, and like that tends to happen sometimes in Cage performances where, like he fucking loves film noir and is clearly pulling a lot from Humphrey Bogart and James Cagney and these characters from that era and Eddie G. Robinson and these things. And he does a good job, but like he's also has to play Spider-Man. So it's a bit, kind of all over the place. Mm-hmm. Brendan Gleeson is fantastic as the Irish mob boss that runs New York. And I love that he just gets to do his Irish accent, and he's just perfect in it. He's running booze all over the city. The show is basically a massive commercial for Green Spot whiskey, which I'm fine with. It's like a pretty solid Irish whiskey that they're pushing on everybody. But it's really well done. It's shot in both black and white and color, and you have the option to watch either one when you watch the show. The black and white is called the authentic version, and the color is called True Hue. And it is not true at all, because like I basically watched the whole thing in black and white, but I occasionally would go and like watch some scenes in color to see how it looked. It's like all the knobs are turned up to 11 on the color, and it's like it looks
like a
super
Zack Snyder saturated bullshit.
Well, a lot of times I think Zack Snyder movies are a little bit like the color looks a little bit faded.
Yeah,
this is like
muted.
Everything is up to 11. The color is just bursting out of the screen. They're using like all the HDR technology they can to make the colors as bright as possible.
Too much.
And it feels like a bit clownish almost. It's so colorful. So I didn't really dig that, but I thought the black and white version looks really great, and the cinematography is beautiful. Cage and Brendan Gleeson are great in it. The more it's 8 episodes, the more you get into the show, the more it moves from noir to superhero shit. So it almost gets a little bit less interesting the more it goes, but the noir stuff is very well done. My only issue with the noir stuff is a lot of it is just directly pulled from 40s noirs, where they do a funhouse mirror sequence. It's pulled from Lady from Shanghai. They do some stuff that's pulled from Double Indemnity. They do some stuff that's pulled from Maltese Falcon and other things that are like almost beyond homage to the point of just doing the thing. They also, the femme fatale character has some redeemable qualities, which is not really noir. Like usually that character is just pure evil to the bone. And like it feels like they didn't think they could do that with a modern audience. Like
they like softened it
to like that character a little bit. And so there's some things that work really well, some things that don't work very well. there's a character who is Cage's secretary who I liked a lot, who's basically like running his PI firm, and he's just too like drunk and depressed and weird to actually run a successful, detective agency, and his secretary is a better detective than he is, and like go out and find information that he can't find. So, and she's a very fun character. She plays that role really well. I also the one superhero thing that I liked about it was I think the Spider-Man character in this universe is a lot more interesting than the normal Spider-Man of like, I was a high schooler on a field trip and got bit by a weird spider and then I got powers. Like, this is a grizzled, depressed World War I veteran who was exposed to German genetic experiments when he was over in Germany and has then developed these spider powers. And it's a lot more cynical, which, it's a noir, so it's going to be more cynical than your typical Spider-Man. But like, and again, because it's a superhero thing, you kind of know where it's going to go. And that was a little bit disappointing, where I felt like I knew the whole time what was going to happen, because it's a Marvel property. They're always going to leave it open to some other thing. They can't have it end in ways that will close things off. And like film noir, one of the reasons I love it is because it's so cynical, and it just leaves no room for hope. And basically the message of any film noir film is you're fucked, right? Yeah. Like, that's really what it's just. Every institution is evil. And, every person is evil. Everybody's out for themselves. There's just there's no goodness in humanity. Everybody's rotten to the core. And it just, I love those movies that are so highly stylized and cynical, and maybe you'll get some sort of, ray of hope in a noir movie, but it's usually then snuffed out by the end. And it's a genre that was so ahead of its time, I think, in the Hays Code era, where most movies were not willing to go to those places, and noir was willing to do. Like, Double Indemnity is one of my favorite movies of all time. I think it's basically like a perfect film noir, and movies like that are so cynical that end in death and destruction because it's the only way they can end. And I knew that this was never going to go there, and so it is what it is. And there are like super villains that are boring and uninteresting. Like, Jack Houston plays the Sandman, and he's just kind of like, he's Jack Houston. He only gets jobs because he's Houston. Yeah. There is a fun villain that's like this electric guy. I forget his name. Magnus. I don't remember what his fucking name is. Not Magneto. But he is, he's a failed actor, and he just really wants to be in the spotlight all the time. Uh-huh. And so he gets these superpowers, and then he just wants to show them off all the time. And he's just so evil and just relishing the spotlight at every chance he gets. And that character's kind of fun. But there's just a lot of it that, it's just okay, because they're limiting themselves by the superhero nature of the show. So it's the good outweighs the bad. I do think it's worth watching. If you like film noir, if you like Nick Cage, if you like Brendan Gleeson, there's a lot of stuff that's worth seeing in it. If I were to have logged it on Letterboxd, I would probably give it like 3.5 out of 5. Like, it's got really great cinematography and really good performances in kind of the key roles, but a lot of it just doesn't work the way I would like it to. I would fucking love to see a legit real noir with Cage and Brendan Gleeson in it as those characters, without having to deal with all of the comic book stuff that has to be put in there. But we're never going to get that. And so this is kind of the closest thing that we'll ever see to that. And so I think it's worth watching because of that. It is by far the best superhero thing that I have seen in years and years. I don't even know, maybe since the first Spider-Verse movie. Wow. So it's like, it's good. If you're into that thing, it's worth watching. If you're just a Marvel junkie who wants to watch all the Marvel shit, I don't know if you'll like it or not, because I don't understand those people. But if you like film noir, it's as close as we're going to get to a legit film noir in 2026.
Wow. I was interested in seeing this mostly because Nick Cage. So like, knowing that he kind of makes good on what he loves about the genre that he's trying to do. Having seen the characters sort of one note in Spider-Verse in a way that works.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah,
it's funny and goofy and whatever. And so like knowing that it's going to become a thing is when they announced that it was a show, I was like, wow, they're really fucking milking whatever this is for however much they can. But also knowing Nick Cage and his dedication, I was like, well, he's probably on board to give some fucking crazy part of his performance to this and like really dedicate himself. So it's good to know that that's out there. But yeah, beyond that, I was like, it's going to be Sony, and I don't fucking know beyond that who the creatives are really going to, what they're going to do. Because like when Sony's involved in any Marvel property, we've both seen Kraven the Hunter. That's like, nah, it's not going to be that great. It's just going to be
Sony has their name on every Spider-Man thing, right?
Yes, because they have it out. Yeah, they have a license. Well, Marvel's licensed it out to them, and as long as they continue to use it, they have it in perpetuity.
Yeah.
For however long they can keep doing this. And so when they made Spider-Verse, they were like, "Look at that. We're not going to lose this fucking property in a while because we did a great job with that. So let's just fuck around with all the other Spider-Man properties,
right? Yeah,
and see what we can do." And that it's not. There's not a lot of hope in what Sony will and can do with those properties. So knowing that Spider-Verse and it has led to Spider-Noir, and that it actually is kind of good. It sounds like it's a film nerd's sort of version of any Marvel property.
Yeah,
it's what they'd usually do anyway. Like Shang-Chi had a lot of fucking Hong Kong cinema in it, and like this is going to have a lot of noir in it, and it's just going to be watched for like most of the homage and whatever Nick Cage performance you get out of it.
Yeah,
fine, sounds good, middle of the fairway kind of stuff that like
you
can get. And
like, you know, it's 8 episodes, they're around 40 minutes each, so not it's bad. Like it's short of like a normal hour-long TV show that would be like 48 minutes, so it's not as much of a commitment as some other like limited series would be. So, you know, it's still a decent amount of time, and you can watch, you know, 3 movies instead. But if it's all interesting to you, it might be worth checking out the first episode and just seeing if it grips you and if you want to keep going with it. Cage does have some fun freak out moments when he's having like, you know, spidey sense tingles, and like he's basically like grappling between like the spider aspect of him. He's always battling between that and the human aspect of himself. And so he's kind of like having to like fight off like just like weird freakouts throughout the show.
Okay.
He also has some drunken rants that are hilarious. And I like the fact that they really make him a cynical, pessimistic noir detective who's just drunk off his ass all the time. He's not very good at his job, and he's just kind of paycheck to paycheck. He's kind of he's not even earning his paycheck. Sometimes he doesn't feel good about taking the money and gives it back. And his secretary's like, "What the fuck? You owe me money. Like, why do you gotta like actually go out there and solve some crimes here?"
Yeah.
So there's a lot of classic noir things that work pretty well in it, and Cage does, you know, a good job with what he has, and Brendan Gleeson is great, and so there's plenty of reasons to watch it. But you know, I totally get if you're like, superhero stuff, I'm not into watching 8 episodes on that. That's fine. Or if you're a person who's really into superhero stuff, you know, give it a try and see if maybe you can expand your horizons a little bit into other genres, and maybe it'll be interesting.
Yeah. Cool.
So that's a recommend for me for Spider-Noir. So that's a wrap. That's all 4 things. So John, you had a recommend for...
What the fuck was it?
What was it at this point?
What did I do? A Different Man.
A different man. I would echo that. Beautiful movie.
I had a recommend for A Different Man.
A Different Man. I have a recommend for the Toy Story franchise, particularly 3 and 4. I have not seen 5 yet. And John, you are also recommending
I Love Boosters, and a little nod towards Widow's Bay, which I recommended. You know, 1 to 2 episodes would be a good kind of litmus test for folks, but I think that it's tonally just one of the best TV shows I've seen in a long time. It just manages that really well. So yeah.
And I had a brief shout out to Carnal Knowledge and a recommend for Spider-Noir. All right, that brings us to a close. Thanks for bearing with us through all these 4 recommends tonight. That's a change of pace. No
wow,
refutes.
we recommend and recommends.
4
That's
for 4.
crazy. Oh my god.
Yeah,
we did it.
Yeah, when Ryan's not here to talk about whatever shit kids movie you just watched, and John for some reason didn't have any schlock this week. So.
I've been watching good stuff. You know,
Wow.
I've been eating good. I gotta counterbalance a lot of the stuff I've seen with Disclosure Day and all that. It's just how it goes.
Yeah, nice palate cleanser after the Disclosure Day episode.
Yep.
But cool. All right. Well, with me as always,
John Garcia. You know, sometimes it's good to crawl out of the trash and eat something that's real food for a while. You know, just have something that's great for the soul. Really nourishes it. And now I'll crawl back in.
All right, Oscar the Grouch, go back into your hole and eat your shit. I have been your host, Michael Dixon. Thanks for putting up with our bullshit.
Hey there, movie buffs, TV toughs, and all listeners in between. John here from the Afterthoughts podcast. I just wanted to drop in at the end of this episode and say thanks for listening. If you've got afterthoughts of your own to share, hit us up. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at The Afterpod, or jump into a conversation on our Discord server. You can find info for this and more at theafterpod.transistor.fm. Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode.